story begins with a regular boy named Dave, who was mostly unnoticed in school. He had only 2 friends, Todd and Marty. No girl paid attention to him, but he had a crush on a girl named Katie. Dave also loved reading comic books. One day, while talking with his friends, he wondered why no one had ever become a real-life superhero. Marty said that to be a superhero, one either needed superpowers or a lot of money. Just then, a guy named Chris entered the cafe. He was the spoiled son of a mafia boss, Frank. Dave noticed that despite being extremely rich, Chris was always alone. So Dave decided to befriend him, but Chris's bodyguard scolded him and sent him away. Later, when Dave and his friends left the cafe, some thugs robbed them. Frustrated with crime, Dave decided to fight against evil himself. He ordered a green diving suit online and strapped 2 sticks to his back. He then started training to become a superhero and help the weak. Meanwhile, mafia boss Frank and his goons were interrogating a man named Trey at their hideout. Frank had sent Trey to sell drugs to a Russian gang, but Trey claimed that a man dressed as Batman attacked him and stole all the drugs. However, the Russian gang told Frank a different story. They accused Trey of keeping most of the drugs for himself and selling them only a small portion at a higher price. Frank didn't believe Trey's story, so he ordered one of his men, Joe, to kill him. Next, we see a man named Damon, who was once a police officer. At this moment, he was teaching his 11-year-old daughter, Mindy, self-defense. He made her wear a bulletproof vest and shot at her, explaining that it was important to protect herself. Meanwhile, Dave continued training to become a superhero, but was afraid of jumping from buildings. One day, he saw the same thugs who had robbed him trying to steal a car. Dave mustered up the courage, wore his suit, and attacked them. However, the thugs stabbed him and ran away. Soon after, a car hit Dave and sped off. Fortunately, some people called an ambulance and got him treated at a hospital. A few days later, Joe informed Frank that Trey had again sold drugs to the Russian gang. Frank realized that the Russians had lied to him. Enraged, he ordered Joe to retrieve the stolen drugs. The next day, Joe captured the Russian boss, who admitted that Trey was still selling them drugs. Joe then locked him in a giant microwave, killing him. On the other hand, after Dave's car accident, metal plates were implanted in his body, and nerve damage made him much more resistant to pain. When Dave returned to school, Katie suddenly spoke to him and even asked him out on a date. Dave was shocked and later told his friends about it. Marty explained that the entire school believed Dave was gay, which was why Katie had started talking to him. Though surprised, Dave didn't correct the misunderstanding because he wanted to stay close to her. Besides this, he continued training as a superhero and named himself Kick-Ass. One day, while sitting in a restaurant, Katie mentioned that a guy named Rasul had been bothering her for a long time. Angry, Dave suggested that she ask Kick-Ass for help. Finally, Katie agreed. That night, Kick-Ass confronted Rasul and his gang, warning them to stay away from Katie. However, the thugs beat him up badly. Just in time, Mindy arrived, disguised as Hit Girl, and saved Kick-Ass's life. She revealed that she was also a superhero and called her father, who appeared in disguise as Big Daddy. Together, they fought off the gang and stole all their money before escaping via the rooftop. Kick-Ass tried to follow them but was scared of heights. Returning home, Dave broke down in tears, realizing that he wasn't a real superhero like Hit Girl and Big Daddy. Later, Hit Girl and Big Daddy visited him in his room, praising his bravery. Big Daddy told Dave that if he wanted to join their team, he would have to train hard. He also mentioned that if Dave ever needed help, he could upload a specific kind of photo as a signal, and they would understand. After they left, Dave regained his motivation to become a superhero and resumed training. Meanwhile, Joe showed Frank a photo from the day his drugs were stolen. Joe revealed that one of their men had taken this picture before dying. This picture captured Big Daddy's back, but Frank only knew one superhero, Kick-Ass. So, he assumed that Kick-Ass was responsible for everything. Meanwhile, Big Daddy and Hit Girl had kidnapped Frank's man, Cody. They tortured him to extract information about Frank's drug empire and then ultimately killed him. Later, a police officer named Marcus arrived at Damon's house for a search. He discovered a huge stash of weapons, revealing that both Damon and Frank were former cops. However, Frank had framed Damon in a false case and sent him to prison. This led Damon's wife into depression, and eventually, she passed away. Seeking revenge, Damon secretly trained himself and, after his release, began training his daughter, Mindy, as his partner. On the other hand, Frank mistook a man dressed as Kick-Ass for the real one and beat him to death in a fit of rage. But when he realized that the person he killed wasn't the real Kick-Ass, he lost his mind. Frank's son Chris overheard this and devised a plan. He decided to become a superhero named Red Mist to gain Kick-Ass's trust. He planned to catch one of Frank's men dealing drugs, hand him over to the police, and then join Kick-Ass's team. Eventually, this would lead him to Big Daddy. Chris executed his plan successfully and became famous in the media. Later, he contacted Kick-Ass through his fan page and arranged a meeting. Red Mist convinced Kick-Ass that he also wanted to help people. Kick-Ass, impressed by Red Mist's flashy car, happily teamed up with him. The two arrived at Frank's warehouse but found it engulfed in flames. They rushed inside, but everyone was already dead. Red Mist grabbed a teddy bear from the scene and escaped just in time. Both superheroes then went their separate ways. From a distance, Frank witnessed this and became worried about his son. But soon, Chris showed everyone footage from the warehouse. It turned out that the teddy bear had a hidden camera. This revealed that Big Daddy had killed everyone in the warehouse and set it on fire. Frank then realized that his real enemy wasn't Kick-Ass, but Big Daddy. He ordered Chris to use Kick-Ass as bait to lure Big Daddy into a trap. Meanwhile, Dave, Kick-Ass, lost all hope of being a superhero after the warehouse incident. However, one night, he saw Red Mist sending him multiple emails asking for help. Finally, Dave changed his mind and put on his Kick-Ass suit once again. Red Mist told him that they were being blamed for the deaths at the warehouse. He convinced Kick-Ass that they needed Big Daddy's help to clear their names. Falling for the trick, Kick-Ass sent out a special signal to call Big Daddy. Damon, Big Daddy, and Mindy, Hit Girl, saw the signal and called Dave to their hideout. Red Mist and Kick-Ass headed there while Frank's men secretly followed them. When they arrived, Big Daddy became slightly suspicious of Red Mist, but still let them in. This turned out to be his biggest mistake. Suddenly, Red Mist shot Hit Girl, and Frank's men stormed in, knocking out both Big Daddy and Kick-Ass. News spread on Kick-Ass's page that he was about to reveal his real face, and everyone was watching intently. Suddenly, a live video started streaming, showing Frank's men torturing Big Daddy and Kick-Ass. They brutally beat them and then poured gasoline over Big Daddy. However, just in time, Hit Girl got back up. She had been wearing a bulletproof vest. She quickly turned off the lights and, using her night vision goggles, launched a fierce attack on Frank's men. In the chaos, one of the thugs set Big Daddy on fire. Severely burned, he still guided his daughter on how to fight. After eliminating all the enemies, Hit Girl managed to put out the fire, but it was too late. Big Daddy's final moments had arrived. Hit Girl tearfully bid him farewell, and Kick-Ass was released. Kick-Ass took Hit Girl home and consoled her. Together, they decided to avenge Damon's death. Mindy disguised herself as a schoolgirl and infiltrated Frank's office. Since no one recognized her, she was allowed inside. Suddenly, she pulled out a gun and shot one of Frank's men in the mouth. She then took down every thug one by one. After changing into her Hit Girl costume, she made her way to Frank's office. Along the way, she bravely fought off more enemies, but she eventually ran out of bullets and was surrounded. Just as she was about to be killed, Kick-Ass arrived wearing a jetpack equipped with machine guns. He wiped out the remaining thugs. Hearing the gunfire, Frank and Chris assumed their men had finally killed Kick-Ass and Big Daddy. But when Kick-Ass and Hit Girl stormed into the office, they froze in shock. A fierce battle broke out. Frank fought Hit Girl, while Kick-Ass faced off against Chris. Frank was about to finish Hit Girl when suddenly, Kick-Ass fired a missile at him. Frank was blasted through the window and his body exploded midair. Chris tried to attack with a sword, but it was too late. Kick-Ass and Hit Girl had already escaped using the jetpack. Kick-Ass later dropped Hit Girl off safely and they shook hands. A few days later, Damon's former police partner Marcus took responsibility for Mindy's care. Meanwhile, Red Mist, Chris, prepared a new villain costume vowing to take revenge on Kick-Ass and Hit Girl.